In the future, the United States is ruled by an authoritarian media organization called network. Most of the population is poor and has no access to healthcare, so the network keeps them distracted with violent game shows. The most popular one is The Running Man, where players must survive 30 days without getting killed by the network's hunters or ordinary citizens. The big prize is $1 billion, but to this day nobody has made it to the end. Ben is a blue-collar worker who recently lost his job. Since he was involved in union activism, he was blacklisted too, and now nobody will hire him. His daughter Kathy is sick and Ben desperately needs money to buy medicine. At home, Sheila comes late for work and announces she'll take another shift at the bar to get more money, but Ben doesn't think it's fair for her to work so much surrounded by creeps. He announces that he'll bring the money home by participating in a game show, although Sheila doesn't like it because players always get severely hurt. Ben swears he'll be fine because he'll do one of the calmer shows. After crossing his humble neighborhood, Ben reaches the fence around the upper-class area. He tells the guards that he's here for the network tryouts and they let him pass. At the station, there's a long line of poor people hoping to be chosen. Suddenly an old man starts to feel ill, yet he swears he can play. When he collapses, Ben catches him and yells for help. The guards scold him for stepping out of the line and beat him up to send him back. At the front desk, Ben discovers his file has a warning sign because of his insubordination, so he punches the screen in anger. He's given a bracelet and assigned to Elevator 6, where fellow players Tim and Jenny insist on befriending him. Everyone is given a uniform and put through various physical tests like climbing and running in the sewers. Ben always helps Tim survive these trials, and during their break, a guard comes to punish him. However, Ben fearlessly blocks his attack. Then the contestants are put through psychological tests like word association and Rorschach images. Ben always answers with sarcasm and an attitude, so the psychologist concludes he's the angriest player they've ever had. All the people who make it to the final round are given colored jumpsuits according to the game show they were chosen for. Ben, Tim, and Jenny get red jumpsuits with targets on their backs, meaning they're joining the Running Man. Next, Ben meets producer Dan and tells him he wants to do a different game. Dan gives him a $1,000 bonus to try to change his mind and reminds him that the other shows don't make more than that. In Running Man, he makes money for every day he survives. Since he's blacklisted, it's the only job he'll ever have. Thinking about his family, Ben decides to sign the contract. Then Ben meets an agent from the Family Alliance. As part of the contract, the network provides Ben's family with security. They'll be taken to a safe house and get a fake name. Ben wants to visit them before the game starts, but he's only allowed one last call. Ben tells Sheila that he's doing Running Man but swears he'll win. That night Ben is forced to stay in a private luxury room. The agent brings him an envelope from Sheila, which has a family picture in Kathy's sock as a good luck charm. The next morning Ben is given a running band. This bracelet will show him his remaining time and how money he's made so far. The show begins and host Bobby calls Ben to the stage. Bobby starts lying to the crowd, saying that Ben used to work for the Defense Network security but got caught selling top secret information. There's even fake footage played on the screen. Ben tries to deny it but Bobby ignores him, because the world believes the Running Man is a chance to punish criminals and they don't know that players are actually desperate people. Civilians even get paid if they report players' locations to the network. When Bobby asks Ben for his last words, Ben insults him in the audience, and promises to survive to burn this building down. After all the players are introduced, Bobby goes over the rules. They're given $1,000 in advance and a 12-hour head start. The 5 hunters will go out the next morning. Players are also required to film themselves for at least 10 minutes every day. If they don't drop the tapes in the assigned boxes before midnight, they get disqualified from further winnings, but they'll still be hunted. After Bobby shows the mysterious hunters to the audience, the 3 players are put in different elevators and sent to a dark room. There he finds the camera, some money, and normal clothes, so Ben changes and leaves the building. He takes a cab and the driver recognizes him, so he asks for a selfie. When Ben says no, the driver gets angry and reminds him to be nice to people or they'll report him. Ben just gets out of the car and starts running. Eventually he makes it to an abandoned building where he meets his old friend Molly, who manufactures things for the black market. Ben says he wants 2 ID cards and a gun, but Molly is angry at him because he put him in danger by coming here during the game. After a short argument and hearing about Kathy, he agrees to help with the IDs. Ben is given a makeover and gets fake IDs with this new look. Molly puts all his things in a suitcase to make him look like a businessman and tells him to stay out of the slums because his own people will sell him for the money. It's better to stay in a busy place and disappear in the crowd. Molly also reveals he had planned to hire Ben as his assistant, but it's too late for that now. In the morning, Ben makes it to the train station, and there are signs with pictures of the 3 players everywhere. He buys a ticket to New York and gets on a train right before the bracelet announces that the hunt begins. A kid tries talking to him and Ben immediately threatens him, but the boy only wants to tell him that his mustache is falling. In New York, Ben gets a room at a nice hotel. The receptionist notices that his ID picture has a mustache but he doesn't, so he says he shaved. In the room, Ben removes the costume and covers the wall before recording himself napping. In the evening, he drops the tape in the box. At midnight, the bracelet informs him that he got the bonus for the first day. Meanwhile, the hunters find Molly and torture him until he tells them the name on the fake ID. The next day the hunters burst into Ben's room and shoot him, but at that moment he wakes up from this nightmare. On TV, the camera is following Tim, who is at a store flirting with a clerk. The hunters easily find him and shoot him in the head as soon as he comes out. Afterward, Ben rents the room for 3 more days. He puts all his things in a normal bag and throws it out the window into a trash container. Then he leaves the hotel normally and picks up his bag before taking a bus to Boston. There he buys old clothes and a hostel room key from a poor man. Then Ben sneaks into the hostel and gets in the elevator without seeing the out-of-service sign that fell earlier. The elevator gets stuck midway to the 2nd floor, so he has climbed out to reach the 3rd floor where his room is. In a box in the closet, he finds gum, cigarettes, and a grenade. He records his tape and his bracelet reminds him to deliver it, but there are too many people waiting by the box. Ben gets ready to take a shower and heads toward the shared bathroom while thinking about the box. Suddenly he realizes he knows the face of one of the men outside. He's one of the hunters, who are now coming upstairs. Luckily someone opens the bathroom and the door hides Ben as the hunter reaches the 3rd floor. After the hunter goes to search the rooms, Ben sneaks into the bathroom and checks the window, which is sadly blocked. He can't leave without the bag, so he rips off a metal rod from the wall and breaks the mirror. Then he sticks a shard to the rod using gum. In the corridor, Ben uses the mirror to check the position of the hunters, who are about to enter his room. He sneaks up the stairs and yells that he saw Ben running on the 2nd floor. Then he runs upstairs and reaches the roof, where he grabs the cables from the glowing sign to climb down. He reaches his room and breaks the window to go inside. The hunters hear the noise and come back. Ben manages to dress up and grab his things before they open fire at the door, so he jumps through the window and grabs the cable again. The weight is causing the sign to bend and a hunter is waiting on the street, so Ben has no choice but to burst into another room through the window. The network drone is still following him, so Ben starts running down the corridor while the hunters continue to fire at him. He makes it to the elevator and captures the drone to smash it against the control pad. The recording ends and the elevator works again. In the lobby, a hunter comes for him, so Ben throws the grenade, only for the hunter to kick it back at him. He immediately picks it up and throws it through the hole in the ceiling, so the explosion causes the elevator to drop into the basement. Ben looks around with only a little match, so he decides to set a magazine on fire to have more light. As he moves around he accidentally sets a rope on fire, and when he drops the magazine the flames spread even more. Since the hunters are in the corridor, Ben pushes some furniture to block the door, then he follows the rats down the sewer. The hunters open fire and hit a gas pipe, so a huge explosion goes off in the basement. The flames go down the tunnel too, so Ben has to fall into the sewer water to save himself while the whole building blows up. When Ben comes out in the street, Stacy approaches him. Ben starts threatening him, but Stacy assures him he just wants to help. While waiting in an alley, Ben checks his bracelet and learns he's won a lot of money for killing people with the explosion. Eventually Stacy comes back with his brother Brad, who takes Ben to his house and feeds him. Brad's family has a sick kid as well, but Brad doesn't want money for helping Ben because he's an anti-network rebel. Then Brad shows Ben his secret video room where he records his analyses of the Running Man episodes and posts them online. Players who get caught go out in public, so the key is staying completely hidden. Brad wants Ben to secretly live with them and make a plan for the last day so he can win the game. The next day, Ben learns about the horrible things that happen in the neighborhood, but the government keeps them under wraps. A furious Ben makes a video telling the public about these atrocities and says that the government is killing their children. Later during the show, Bobby appears with a bunch of kids, claiming they're the children orphaned by the hostile explosion. He plays Ben's tape so edited that it sounds like he's mocking these kids. Ben tries to explain that it's a fake, but Brad's mother is disgusted and kicks him out. Brad and Stacy are still determined to help, so they hide Ben in the trunk of their car and drive off. Suddenly the car starts going faster and a bullet hits the trunk because 2 bikes are chasing them. Ben opens the trunk and throws a tool at a biker's face, causing him to crash. The other bikers open fire, so Ben hides again and Brad stops the car. The bikers can't stop in time and they crash into the car, so Brad quickly runs over both of them to take them out. Afterward Brad drops Ben off outside town and gives him a gun plus a card with the address of his friend Elton. After a short train trip, Ben is hiding in another hotel and watching his latest tape on TV. Since he knows they'll edit everything, he just recorded himself reading a book. Bobby also shows Jenny's tape, revealing she's partying at a club. Disguised as a blind priest, Ben leaves the hotel to drop the tape in the box, but the mailman is there and gets suspicious. He approaches Ben under the excuse of a question to check his face and starts recording him, so Ben tackles him and headbutts him. After dropping the tape in the box, he runs away. A car starts chasing him, so Ben crosses the woods and jumps over the fence to follow a passing train. The mailman opens fire, but Ben is already jumping from train to escape. In Maine, Ben pretends to be a disabled man and joins a group watching the show on the street. Jenny has been found in a casino and she almost gets to escape on a car, but unfortunately 2 teenagers manage to set her vehicle on fire and kill her. Moments later Ben finally meets Elton. He lives with his mom, but he swears she isn't mentally well so they can ignore her. Elton takes Ben to his secret room where he prints an anti-network newsletter. His dad was a cop, but he was killed by his co-workers when he spoke against the system, so since then Elton has been a rebel. He also explains that street lamps across the whole country have scanners that can identify strands of DNA, thus Ben should hide underground. His father built a bunker during the Cold War, so Elton wants Ben to hide there to win. Then he'll print his rebellious newsletter with Ben's face to trigger a revolution. Ben spends the night in a hidden room and records his tape. In the morning he tries to deliver it, only to be seen by Elton's mother. She immediately recognizes him and tries to raise the community alarm, so Elton stops her. However, he realizes he could avenge his father, so he alerts the cops anyway. Soon the house is surrounded and bullets come through every wall. The mother tries to tell the cops where they are, but Elton locks her up before activating his booby traps. When the cops break in, Elton shoots water on the electric cables on the floor, which electrocutes some officers. Then he and Ben run through the wall in the secret room, and when the cops try to follow, the trap throws chemicals at them and sets them on fire. The stairs have another trap that breaks the wood and throws the cops off. Then Elton takes Ben to the bathroom and they slide down a pole in the shower. In the next room, Elton reveals a hidden door on the floor and they descend into a tunnel. Unfortunately, a hunter is waiting and stabs Elton before going after Ben. A fight ensues and Ben's hand gets cut before he disarms the enemy. Elton grabs the knife and slashes the hunter's ankle to make him fall. At that moment the hunter gets a call from Dan, who wants to talk to Ben. When Ben asks why they don't fake the entire show with their technology, Dan explains that they tried, but computer-generated people aren't as entertaining as the real deal. Then Dan asks him to kill the hunter so the drone can record it for better ratings. Instead, Ben shoots the drone. Afterward, Elliot and Ben burst through a door in a vehicle. They make it to the woods and see a helicopter following them, so Elton asks Ben to leave him as a distraction and run to the shelter. Unfortunately, the sniper in the chopper shoots Elton in the head. Two hunters now surround him, but they can't shoot because they were ordered to catch him alive so he can be executed on live TV. The vehicle is full of explosives, so Ben drives through the bridge and jumps out right before the car crashes into one of the hunters, causing a huge explosion. Ben falls into the river while the bracelet gives him a huge bonus for killing a hunter. After sneaking through the countryside, Ben finally makes it to the bunker's location, only to discover that the government destroyed it to build a new city. He spends the night in an abandoned house and dreams about his family, which inspires him to keep playing. When the cops reach that house, they find Ben's latest tape and a message that says you mail it. In the middle of the road, Ben breaks the window of the first car that passes and gets inside. He threatens Amelia to make her drive as fast as possible while the drones and the cops follow them. After dodging lots of vehicles, she makes a sudden turn and enters the opposite road, which helps them lose their pursuers for a while. During the trip, Amelia calls Ben all kinds of insults. Ben shows him a picture of his family and tells her the truth about the players and the faked videos. Suddenly the car AI is hacked and the vehicle is forced to stop. Two rednecks try to capture them, but a drone opens fire to kill them and make their truck explode, which means Dan wants to keep Ben alive for more rantings. A fake video on TV shows Amelia yelling for help, so she finally understands Ben's story. The duo continues to drive ahead and encounters lots of people supporting them by the road. Eventually they find the road blocked by the hunter leader. Since various drones are recording, Ben pretends he has explosives that he'll use to kill all the civilians on national TV. He asks for a plane and 2 parachutes and the hunter gets orders to take the deal. Ben tells Amelia she can leave now, but she refuses because she's seen the truth and wants to help. Minutes later at the airport, Ben asks the hunter leader to take off his mask and he tries to say no, but Dan orders him to do it and the camera records Evan's face. Ben can tell that the pilots are hunters too and asks them to take him to Canada or he'll blow up the plane. During the flight, Evan gets impatient and Ben insults him, so an argument ensues. When they're about to get violent, Amelia acts terrified about the bomb to stop them. Suddenly Dan appears on a screen and explains his team has scanned the plane, so they know there are no explosives. Evan gets ready to shoot Ben, however the pilots point their guns at him and Dan scolds him since he wants to have this death on the show. Afterward Dan has a private conversation with Ben to offer him a deal. If he kills Evan and the pilots, Ben can become the new hunter and be paid millions every year. Ben says no, so Dan shows him a clip of the hunters killing Sheila and Kathy. Ben screams in grief and destroys the screen in fury. A confused Amelia turns on her screen and sees Bobby playing the clip of the death of Ben's family, saying that the hunters broke the rules. Now all the audience is on Ben's side. A pilot realizes it's a trap and gets his gun ready, but Ben shoots him first and uses him as a shield since the other hunters are shooting too. A fight ensues and the controls are accidentally pressed, so the plane starts going down. After lots of struggle, Ben manages to retrieve his gun and shoots the hunters in the head. The drone then activates the remote pilot and the plane flies normally again. Afterward Ben searches for Evan, who is hiding in a hatch and takes Ben by surprise. Another fight begins and Ben manages to smash Evan's head on the mirror. Evan grabs a shard and uses it to slash Ben's stomach while revealing that he used to be a player too. He survived 29 days, so the network offered him to become a hunter to stop him from winning. Evan explains the network will torture his family if necessary, implying that the footage was fake. When Evan is about to shoot Ben, the plane's controls make a sudden turn to make him miss. The bullet hits a window and the plane starts to fall. Even tries to kill Ben again, but Ben realizes he stole a parachute and pulls the handle. The parachute gets stuck in the broken window and Ben uses the chance to kill Evan with a knife. Then Ben gives Amelia a bag with Elliot's rebel newsletter and opens the door for her to jump. The drone follows her, so she insults it and releases the newsletter, so they fly with the wind. On TV, Dan announces that Ben is the new hunter. Ben talks to the camera and explains the situation with his daughter. He tells the audience that the network manipulates society, so the real answer is to stop watching and go after the people in charge. His speech is interrupted when the network cuts the signal and Dan immediately edits it to make him look like a madman. The audience watches as the plane comes closer to the station only to blow up in the sky. Sometime later, Brad analyzes the episode and points out that there are too many inconsistencies to believe that the story they saw is true. People get angry and retrieve the plane's black box, so the real footage leaks online. Thanks to Ben's speech and Elliot's newsletters, society finally supports the revolution and now they're going after the network. Brad has also discovered that the plane's auto-eject seat is missing, so Ben may still be alive. In the supermarket, Sheila and a healthy Kathy are getting groceries thanks to the money Ben made. When they come out, they're shocked to find Ben waiting for them. At the TV station, Bobby is terrified of the angry crowd and quits. Dan goes to the stage and people start throwing bombs at him. The rebels take over the building, causing destruction everywhere. Dan tries to run away, but he trips on a cable and falls. Ben emerges from the flames to shoot him in the head.